They weren't police. Three men in jackets stitched with HOA security came to the door with a fake notice and a bored kind of swagger, as if the cul-de-sac belonged to them. One of them slapped my wife under the doorbell camera. Their mistake was thinking the lens only saw. The mic was live. And the woman they struck is married to a man who spent years learning how to end trouble without starting a war. Afternoon light lay across the lawns like a ruler. My truck rolled in just as the engine noise of their pickup thinned at the corner. The front door was ajar. Inside, Anna had a bag of ice bundled in a dish towel, sitting not on the bruise but near it because she hates giving anyone the satisfaction of seeing her hurt. A picture frame lay face down on the hall table, its glass spidered. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm mad," she said, which was our language for "I'll be fine, but not if you baby me." The doorbell camera's little red LED winked. I popped the cover, slid the memory card into a reader, and set my laptop on the kitchen island. We watched it together, the chain on the door, the false courtesy, the sudden shoulder into the jam, the dry sound of a hand meeting flesh. We listened again to the voice that promised they'd be back tomorrow at 9. Then I paused on the angle where the wind lifted the magnetic HOA patrol sign on their truck's door, just enough to show the corner of a sticker underneath. The plate was smeared with road dust, but not enough to hide the pattern of characters. I am not a cop. I am not interested in being one, but I do know what to look for. I opened a fresh notepad and wrote 2 sentences. They are not law enforcement. They will come back. Then I called a man named Lewis who works on a task force that pays attention when small crimes wear big costumes. I told him what we had: faces, audio, time of return, a partial plate, the QR code on their violation slip that pointed to a website born yesterday and already eager to take card numbers. "Don't bait them," he said. I could hear the fatigue in his voice, the tiredness of 1,000 tiny fires lit by people who only wanted a shortcut. "Document. We'll be there early." "Understood," I said. "No cowboy stuff." I texted our street's group chat. It was brief and plain. There are imposters hitting the neighborhood in fake HOA gear. Don't pay anyone on the spot. Don't open doors to uniforms without badges. If they show up again, call 911 and let your cameras roll. No confrontation, no heroics. We just need the truth captured. Night gathered without fanfare. I printed 3 copies of a checklist for verifying anyone claiming authority. Names, agency, callback numbers, the questions you ask before you let anyone over your threshold. Anna read them and smiled at the part where I underlined, "Be polite, be firm." It sounded like her. "Will they come back?" she asked. "They will," I said. People who feed on deference always return to the bowl. We slept because nerves don't steel themselves in a sleepless body. Before bed, I set on the dresser the only tools I thought I might need: a headlamp, 2 plastic zip ties you can buy at any hardware store, and a pen. I left a rifle in the safe and a pistol in the drawer, and I said a quiet prayer I wouldn't need either. Restraint is a muscle. You train it or you don't have it when you need it most. Dawn made a pale ribbon of the street. At 8:20, an unmarked sedan eased into the far cul-de-sac space. 2 people got out, plainclothes, quiet. We shook hands in the side yard, which felt a little like meeting a neighbor, which I suppose we were for an hour. "They like to say we work with the committee," I said. "They'll push for cash or a transfer off a QR code. Yesterday, one of them crossed the threshold and struck my wife. Today, I'll keep the door between us. You'll have the audio you need." "We'll intervene as soon as we have it," Lewis said. "You keep it clean." At 8:57, the same pickup nosed into our street, slow, as if the driver wanted the neighborhood to see their patience. The magnetic signs were straighter today. They parked at the curb like they were saving me a trip to the bank. 3 doors opened. The one with the neat beard checked his watch and said to no one in particular, 9 o'clock. Punctuality is the mother of order." I opened the door just wide enough to be courteous and not enough to be pushed. The chain was off. The deadbolt stayed thrown. I held the camera in the corner of my eye like a metronome. "Good morning," I said. "Before we begin, show me your badges and give me the callback number for your agency." "We're HOA security," the bearded one said, not quite rolling his eyes. "We have active complaints from neighbors about your trash container, your lawn edge, and an unregistered remodel. Fines double if you delay." "Are you law enforcement?" I asked. "Sheriff's office? City code enforcement? Anyone with actual arrest authority?" "We're a compliance unit," he said. He had a voice used to winning coin tosses. "We work with the committee, pay now, and we'll close it out." "Thank you," I said. "That's extortion. You're on camera. Yesterday, one of you committed battery. Today, you're back to collect." The largest of the 3 took a step, rolling a plastic baton in his palm like a yo-yo. He looked at my shoulder, not my face. The old habit in me, that itch to hit first and finish it, woke like a dog that hears a gate click. I let it stay where it was. When his shoulder twitched, when he thought he might pivot and crowd the door, I moved the way you move when the ground under you shifts and you want to stay standing. I stepped half a beat into his space, took his wrist like you'd take a jar you don't want to break, rotated his hand so his own momentum bent him, and let gravity make the argument. He knelt more from surprise than pain. The baton dropped and knocked gently against the porch rail. The bearded one reached for the door with the same shoulder he'd driven yesterday. I met his forearm with my forearm and redirected it to the air where it belonged. He folded almost politely. "Easy," I said. "Breathe. Your joints are fine. Keep your hands where I can see them." I didn't shout. People who shout are often trying to convince themselves. I set 2 zip ties gently like belts around 2 sets of wrists. The driver, cap low, eyes skittering, sat on the curb without being told. The neighbors' cameras watched from porches and windows, shy and unwavering. Our doorbell's LEDs stared like an honest witness. "You said on camera that you're not police," I said. "You demanded immediate payment. You approached our door again after committing an assault yesterday. You have no warrant and no authority to enter." "I didn't hit anyone," the bearded man muttered. The collar of his jacket felt too tight. "The audio disagrees," I said, and I let the quiet show him its own reflection. The sedan's doors opened. 2 people approached, badges displayed, voices calm and conversational in that way that says the talking is formality and the rest is paperwork. They took statements, they collected the doorbell footage, they asked me twice if I was injured, which was kind and standard. The one with the baton stared at the knuckles of his right hand like they belonged to someone else. The driver looked like he wanted to hand the morning back and get a different one. It didn't take long. Pretenses rarely do. One of them broke first, not with a full confession, not a television speech, just a small run of words delivered to the pavement. A name that paid them, a route they ran, the amount they usually asked for in cash. The kinds of people who paid fastest. The task force listened. They asked about other streets and other Saturdays. They took the magnet sign and the printed violations and the burner phone with a cracked corner. They thanked me for staying on the polite side of the line. When the pickup was gone and the quiet returned, the house felt taller. Anna stood with her arms folded and her chin lifted, like the idea of the place had grown to fill its shape again. The bruise had darkened, then relaxed into itself. She traced a finger along the edge of the shattered frame's photograph and said she liked that our faces in the picture looked like 2 people who could be surprised and not broken by it. The rest of the day was small work. We printed the checklist on bright paper and made a neat stack by the coffee maker. How to tell real authority from borrowed costume, callbacks, never pay on the spot, record everything, ask neighbors to watch before you ask them to help. We slid a copy under the door of the woman across the street who leaves casseroles in a line when anyone on the block has a baby. We dropped one with the retired teacher who knows everyone's first and middle name because she wrote them on math tests for 30 years. They came by in 2s and 3s with pie and coffee and questions. We didn't make speeches. We said we were grateful. We said we were tired. Lewis texted near dusk, working the source they gave us. "Looks like a wider loop of patrols. Your footage plugs gaps we needed. Thanks for keeping it clean." We ate dinner at the kitchen island, the one with pencil lines where Anna sketches before she drafts. The doorbell camera's app sent a motion ping when a cat slinked up the walk and sat politely like he'd RSVP'd. When I opened the door to set out a saucer of water, the red LED pulsed once, then went still, like a heartbeat settling after a sprint. I replaced the shattered frame with a new one. Same photo, the 2 of us on a gravel road in a national park, her hair moving the way the grass on either side moved, the sky ahead large and undecided. I tightened the tiny bent tabs on the back and set it on the hall table where visitors would see it first if they glanced down while they waited. The bruise on her face would fade. The sense that a front step should be an altar, not a stage, would return. Somewhere down the road, a pickup would get demagnetized and then impounded. Somewhere a domain would go dark, and a bank account would be frozen, and a handful of people who thought they'd found a seam in the law would feel the air leaving the room. We walked the block just before the streetlights woke. The neighbors waved the way people do when they don't want to make a thing bigger, by naming it but want you to know they saw and they care. At the corner, a kid shot baskets into a hoop that complained with each swish. His mother sat in a folding chair reading a library book. Ordinary life had shouldered its way back in. At our door, Anna paused and looked at the peephole like it was a telescope. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. The part of your life where you met problems head-on and ended them with your hands? I miss clarity, I said. The kind that comes when everyone knows the rules. But this is better. This is home. She kissed the place under my jaw that always makes me close my eyes. Then let's keep it boring, she said. Boring is underrated, I said. We stepped inside and locked the door because locks are not mistrust. They are an agreement with yourself about the kind of peace you want. The frame on the table caught the last light from the porch and held it a moment. A small square sun. The house exhaled. The neighborhood did too. And though I knew the world had not grown kinder in 24 hours, I also knew something true and simple. People who think a costume is power are always surprised by a camera and a community. They come to collect fear, they leave recorded and very small. That was enough for one day.